If you are new and this is your first experience trying meditation, rest assured, I always start every class introducing meditation at a basic level, and we do a very short breathing meditation to kind of get everybody, okay, like this is how it works kind of a thing. And then we'll talk about our topic and we'll do another meditation after that. Hello, Robert. Okay, so today's topic it's a tough one for me. I struggle with this a lot. Always have. Building a positive self-image. So this is an important topic in terms of increasing our happiness day to day. And so we're going to look at like, what is a self-image? What does that even mean? And why is it that it seems easier to focus on our faults than maybe celebrate our strengths? I don't know if you noticed that, but I've definitely have experienced that. And then we'll talk about a couple different ways you can use some meditation techniques in order to help encourage you to start to build a positive self-image about yourself. Cool? If you are new, ask questions at any time. It doesn't matter what I'm talking about. You don't have to wait for me to stop. I don't know if I'm going to stop. I might just keep talking. So you can interrupt me at any time and say, hey, Keith, it doesn't make any sense to me. Can you please explain it a different way or whatever your question is? And I will stop what I'm doing and attempt to do that for you. So best way to do that is to just type in the chat. If you are not comfortable doing that, no problem. I will provide my email address later in the live stream. You can email me any questions that you have or just questions in general. Cool. Let me catch up here. Janelle, if you are positive, you radiate positivity. That is a beautiful and very wise thing to say, Janelle. Thank you. Rosa, greetings, Keith. I'm doing much better. I'm glad to hear that. Oh, great. Looks like you got some good news. That's fantastic. So hopefully you'll feel even better after today. Looks like we have a couple of newcomers. That's awesome. Welcome. All right. So we're going to get started by just kind of talking about meditation in general. What is it? Right? It's a good place to start. What is it? So like I said, when we just made that up. Wow, Janelle. Impressive. When we think about meditation, oftentimes the kind of word relaxation pops into our head, or zoning out, or whatever, kind of being super zen or whatever. I don't know, something along the lines of relaxing, right? And meditation is very good at relaxing us, but how does meditation relax us? This is something that sometimes doesn't get taught when people are learning meditation. I think it's really important to understand what's going on here, right? Kira, hello, I'm new here. I'm actually here for assignment for a college class. I'm excited to be here for see myself coming back. This is amazing. Oh my gosh, now the pressure's on. I'm glad you're here. I hope you have a good experience. Okay. What the heck was I saying? So meditation is good for relaxing you, but the way in which it relaxes you is kind of interesting, right? So I like to describe meditation as familiarity. In fact, the two words are very interchangeable. And you might be like, well, it's kind of a weird way to describe meditation. But if we think about some things that we're really familiar with in our life, we can see how important this concept of familiarity, like what kind of a powerful role it plays in our day-to-day. So what is something you're super familiar with? Let's go really familiar, right? Like walking. Let's just take walking, right? You probably could walk without really thinking about the mechanics of walking at this point in your life. If I was going to say walk down the street or whatever to the store, you would just do it. You don't have to think, okay, put this foot down and enough balance, right? We don't have to think about that. Well, because walking's very familiar to us. We've been practicing it for quite some time, haven't we? But when you were quite young, a little babe, walking wasn't that easy, was it? Might be hard to remember all the way back then, but there's probably some embarrassing videos of you, stumbling, trying to walk, losing your balance, right? So, at one point, walking was difficult, and now it comes very naturally. It's like kind of second nature. So what happened? Well, hair in my mouth. It's the problem with having long hair. What happened in between then and now? You practiced, right? Every day, a little more walking, and then, you kind of figure it out, but you're still not very graceful. You're still stumbling, and now, you're walking a little more the next day, and the next year, you're just crushing it, right? So any type of training, right, starts with us being unfamiliar with something, and then through repetition, making it habitual, we become familiar with it. And the benefit of becoming familiar with something is that it starts to come more naturally. Muscle memory, Lori says. Exactly. And the same is true with mental muscle memory, right? So, for meditation, we focus a lot on mental states, emotions, feelings, and the same concept of familiarity with learning how to walk is the same with training our mind. Right? So in terms of being more relaxed, meditation does not relax you. Meditation teaches you to become more familiar with your relaxed self. You have a relaxed self, do you not? It comes out from time to time. We would probably like it to come out more, and that's why we're here. But it's in there, right? And that's very important to recognize. Meditation isn't pulling relaxation out of thin air. It is teaching you to become more familiar with your natural ability to be relaxed. Why? That way, being relaxed starts to come more naturally to you. Wouldn't it be amazing if being relaxed came as naturally to us as walking? Right? So that's how meditation kind of works, instead of, sometimes we just think, oh, I meditate and I'm relaxed, right? But there's some more subtlety to it, right? Lori, that's very, very kind of you to say. Thank you. So in terms of familiarity, we can kind of become familiar with whatever we want, which is the real power of meditation. Now, we might want to focus on being relaxed. Cool. We might want to focus on being kinder to others or to ourselves, which is kind of what we're going to be talking about a little bit today. Anything we want to become familiar with, we can become more familiar with through training using meditation. It's a technique. It's a learning tool, right? So familiarity, goes the other way too. So if you think about something like anger, how easy is it to get angry? We don't have to try. We don't ever have to say, hold on a second, I got to get angry about this thing you said to me. No, we just get angry, right? Doesn't mean we're an angry person. It means that we've had a fair deal of practice getting angry. And so our mind kind of knows what to do, right? It thinks it knows what we want to do, right? What about being patient? That takes some effort, right? That might be one where we have to say, hold on a second, I got to take a step back and try to be patient here, right? Doesn't seem to come as naturally. And that's not because we're incapable of being patient. We are extremely capable of being patient. It is merely that we are more familiar with our mind getting agitated than our mind being patient. That's it, right? And the beauty of this is you can change that. You can choose what you want to focus on. And that's what meditation is all about, putting you back in the driver's seat of your own thoughts, right? Because right now, it don't always seem that way. Your mind's like, worry about that project coming up. We're like, okay, I guess I'm going to worry about that. And then, think about that thing somebody said to you 3 years ago that you're upset about. Okay, I guess I'll think about that. Right? It feels like we're along for the ride. It's really kind of teach our mind to obey us a little bit better. It might take some time because we've been letting our mind run wild for a while, doing whatever it wants, right? Cool. So how do we do this? Well, step one is we have to learn how to start to clear away some of the clutter in our mind. And by clutter, I mean stress, anxiety, worry, fear, all those things that are bouncing around in our head, pulling our attention in one direction or the other. We have to learn how to sort of mitigate that a little bit. You try to learn from it and don't do it again. That's a great way to approach it. Fantastic. So the way that we're going to start to relax a little bit with meditation by clearing away some of the busyness in our mind is with something called single-pointed concentration. It's a fancy phrase that means focusing on one thing. Not multitasking, opposite of that. All right. Now, to get back to this concept of meditation equals familiarity, do you think we're more familiar with multitasking or focusing exclusively on one thing that we want to focus on? I think it's multitasking. We practice multitasking a lot, right? All day long, even when we're not actively, sometimes we're trying to multitask, but even when we're not trying to multitask, we're multitasking. Our mind is doing a bunch of different things, jumping from thing to thing. And so what we're going to do we're going to do a breathing meditation. We are going to focus so exclusively on our breath that there's no more room for all those other busy thoughts. They're going to start to fade into the background a little bit. Right? Very similar if you've ever felt in the zone. Maybe you're working on a project at work, and what happens? Lose track of time, all the noises of the office. It's like they're not there. They're there, but it seems as if they're kind of muted or they've faded a bit. You don't notice them. Right? It's the same concept, only we're going to start to train in doing this intentionally. That way we can start to do it when we want to. Sometimes when we're in the zone or whatnot, it's not intentional. It just kind of happens, right? So we're going to train in doing this intentionally. Lori, concentration on what we need to say before we say it. Oh, that's a really good one too. Yeah. Like non-impulsive. Yeah. Like kind of, that's a really good one. I think a couple of classes ago, we talked about reframing, looking at things from different perspectives. Oh, we're actually going to talk a little bit about that today too. I'll bring that back up when we get to it. Okay. So we're going to do a breathing meditation now. And if this is your first time trying meditation, don't worry, it's going to be short. It's one of the most common concerns about people starting meditation. Like, how long am I going to sit here? 5 minutes, I think we're gonna shoot for. Very common misconception about meditation: you do not need to meditate for hours on end. The most important thing is you're doing it consistently. So if that's 5 minutes a day for you, cool. If that's 3 minutes a day for you, cool. If that's 30 seconds a day for you, cool. Right? Just be honest with yourself about what you can manage. Everyone's going to be different, right? So we're going to do a 5-minute breathing meditation now. Instructionally, very straightforward. You are going to focus on your breath. And then when you notice that your mind is thinking about something else, you're going to be like, oh, I was thinking about something else. And then you're going to bring your attention back to breathing. That's it, right? That is the cadence of training in meditation. We're going to make a choice intentionally to focus on one thing, something that we want to focus on, in this case, our breath. And then we're going to keep a little kind of eye and ear out for when our mind starts to drift off and thinking about something that happened earlier or something coming up later. And we're going to be like, not right now. I'm focusing on my breath. We're going to bring our attention back, right? And over time, this is going to get easier and easier. We're going to be able to stay more focused on our breath longer and longer, and we're going to be able to relax more and more. Sound good? Oh, it sounds good. Let's put it to practice, right? Okay, so very important. Make sure you're comfortable. There is no required seating arrangement for meditating. It does not matter as long as you are relatively comfortable. Chair's fine, cushion's fine, laying down, doesn't matter, whatever. So just make sure you're relatively comfortable. You can go ahead and close your eyes. And I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay. first things first, let's just check in. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now in this moment? Happy, sad, tired, energetic, neutral, whatever it is, doesn't matter. We're not doing anything about it. We're just noticing. We're noticing what our mind is up to. This is a very important skill to develop. It's called mindfulness. Mindfulness is a moment-to-moment awareness of your thoughts for the purpose of being able to respond to those thoughts skillfully. So just take note of how you're feeling right now in this moment. And having done that, you can turn your full attention to your breath. Make a choice. Make a promise to yourself to focus exclusively on breathing in and out, gently, naturally, through your nose. You do not need to take big, deep breaths or forcefully exhale the air. Just breathe very normally, casually, smooth breaths. In and out. Following each moment of each breath. Staying with the air as it enters your nose, sits, and exits. Fully present with each breath you take in and out. At some point, your attention may drift. It may no longer be exclusively focused on your breath. Maybe you're thinking about something that happened earlier today. Or maybe you're thinking about something coming up later after this class. Whenever you notice those thoughts popping up, we can just gently say, not right now, and guide your attention back to breathing in and out, gently, naturally. Allow yourself to relax into your chair or cushion. Allow yourself to enjoy following the air entering and exiting your nose. You have nowhere else to be. You have nothing else to do. Just be here, breathing in and out. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath whenever you notice that it has drifted. This process of choosing to focus exclusively on your breath, noticing when your attention drifts, and being able to bring your attention back to breathing, that is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. You are training your mind to relax, to access its natural, peaceful state. How wonderful. What an incredibly good use of your time to practice this. So just for the next couple seconds, just enjoy breathing in and out, Just enjoy sitting here. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How did that go? Easy? Hard? Everyone's going to have a different experience, right? So if you found that to be difficult, well, when have you ever done this before? It's the funny thing. We have pretty high expectations for ourselves, right? We're like, oh, I can focus on my breath and never get distracted. All right. Even though we've kind of just let our mind do that all our life, right? So if you did find this to be difficult, it's just going to take some time. Just like it took time for you to learn to walk, just like it took time for you to learn to tie your shoe, it took time for you to learn how to drive, all these things that you have learned in your life that now start to flow to you very naturally. This is absolutely no different in any way. It just takes some repetition and some practice to kind of normalize it. Right now, our mind's like, what are you doing? We don't do this. We focus on a lot of things, not one thing. So we have to kind of train our mind, sort of like it's a pet. So you said it was easy. All right, good. I'm glad you had a good experience. Good, a bit drifty. That's totally fine. So very important thing to recognize that your mind will drift. That is not a problem, right? The goal of meditation is not to never have your mind drift, but rather to become better at noticing when it has drifted and being able to bring it back. That's the important part, right? I've been meditating a very long time. My mind drifts. So it's okay if you're a bit drifty, right? But if you're able to pull it back, awesome. That's exactly where you want to be, right? Cool. Patricia, it's my pleasure. I love teaching meditation. Thanks for being here. I never thought to listen and get in tune with my breath. Love it. Most of the time when I'm stressed or mad, I find myself stop breathing. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, we kind of like tense up and we like stop breathing. Yeah. So one of the kind of subtle benefits of meditation. Thanks for the subscription. I appreciate that. One of the subtle benefits of meditation is that we start to kind of notice some subtle joys, interests about activities that maybe we thought were pretty mundane. So like breathing is a good example, right? You're like, oh, it's actually kind of relaxing to be able to do this, right? Whereas normally we breathe all the time. We don't think anything of it, right? I think it's kind of like boring. So this is, and that can happen with multiple types of activities. And we'll talk a little bit about that today too. All right. So if you have any other questions about meditation in general, on a whole, or breathing meditation, you feel free to ask me. I'm going to move on to our topic today, which is building a positive self-image or self-concept, whatever kind of words. There's a lot of different words that are saying the same thing. Whatever version of us, like a positive version of ourselves, right? So what is a self-image? It's kind of a weird phrase. I like to think of a self-image as the version of yourself that you believe is the real you, or like attributes about yourself that you think are permanent, not flexible. Like that is, I am anxious, I am lazy, I am whatever, right? They're usually not positive, unfortunately. That's why we're here, to work on it. I have high anxiety. Do you believe meditation can help relieve it? I got news for you. That is exactly why I got into meditation. I got into meditation for very crippling anxiety, very bad. And I can say with certainty that it is extremely helpful. It is a slow burn. It will take some time for you to, you got to be patient with it, but it is a very healthy and powerful way to help anxiety. Yes. Yeah. You're in a good spot for this. Lori, how we see ourselves in the world or in the mirror? Whoa. So both. Right? Images everywhere. It can be a mental thing, it can be a visual thing, right? In counseling, I'm learning who I am. Yeah, that absolutely. And meditation is kind of like internal counseling. So we relax ourselves, and then we're kind of looking at things in our life and thinking about them with kind of a level of clarity, and hoping we can get some kind of realizations about what we might need to do or want to do. Right? Very good. Meditation has been a huge help for my own anxiety over the past several years. Amazing, Garrett. Amazing. Yeah, it is a really important part, I think, of managing anxiety. There are a lot of ways to do it. I also take medication for anxiety. Like, there's a lot of different avenues, and meditation is a really great tool in your tool belt to help kind of combat anxious thoughts, right? And we've done a lot. Actually, I think I did it last week. I did a class on anxiety. So if you want, just pop over to my YouTube channel and you can rewatch that video on it. Cool. Okay, so self-image is the version of ourselves we think is real, and also we can think of it as like attributes about ourselves that we think are permanent, right? Not flexible. Flexibility is also a very important word in meditation, right? And usually this kind of self-image, it's not always positive. So for me, I am a very big procrastinator. Right? I can admit that. And so whenever I kind of detect that, hey, Gail, whenever I detect that I'm procrastinating, what do I say to myself? Right? I say, oh, I'm so lazy. I'm so lazy, right? Now, I've procrastinated a lot in my life, and so I've kind of referred to myself as a lazy kind of person, or thought it a lot of times, right? And so what happens, just like anything else, that the more we do it, the more familiar we become with it, right? Or there's that thing again, familiarity. The more we say that about ourselves, the more we start to believe that is the real us, that is a permanent fixture of our being. I equal lazy. Or, if that's not something you identify with, if you find you getting mad a lot, angry a lot, I'm so angry, right? We start to think we are an angry person. I equals angry, right? Or if we're upset, right? Unhappy a lot, we start to feel like we are a unhappy person, right? Instead of just my mind is experiencing some unhappiness, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that. But essentially, we're crafting a persona for ourselves. And all of this is learned behavior, right? When you were born, you did not emerge into the world being like, I'm so lazy. It wasn't a thing, right? But over time, we've taught ourselves to think about ourselves that way, right? And so over time, just like we were learning before with training our mind in what we want to be familiar with, we have whatever your kind of self-concept is, you've repeated that mentally, maybe even vocally, to yourself so much that it's just, your mind goes there so easily. Like, if I were to say to myself right now, if I were to say out loud, I am lazy, to me, that rolls right off the tongue. That makes total sense to me, right? Because I have identified with that for a very long time. Now, if I were to say I am determined, I'll be like, well, I'm already starting to think about all the times that I wasn't determined, right? Instantaneously trying to fight that. But, there's been plenty of times in my life that I've been determined and been able to do amazing things because of it, right? But those get kind of swept under the rug. Just like we were talking about with anger, we practice anger, inadvertently. We practice it a lot, so it starts to come naturally to us. If we talk negative self-talk, if we do that a lot, it starts to come natural to us. It starts to feel real. All right, it starts to feel like the real us. And this is a big blockade, and it's something personal to me. I deal with this a lot. Not that, I mean, there's a lot of, this is very common, but I am no exception to the rule. And it is a big blocker because it limits what you think is possible, right? When we think that I am lazy, what we're kind of telling ourselves is that that is who I am and I can't possibly be not that, right? And so then it starts to be discouraging, right? We start to actually believe that we're unable to fix that aspect of us if we want to, right? So how do we go about building a better self-image of ourselves? How do we go about building a positive self-image? There are 3 things I'm going to focus on today, and each one of them can be tied into meditation, and we're going to use one of them as our meditation for later, not very long from now, but I'll try to weave in all of these things into that meditation, but we'll focus on one. So the first thing that I think is really helpful is we have to stop familiarizing ourselves with negativity, right? So I kind of hinted at this a little earlier. I'll use the example of myself again. So normally if I kind of think about myself or think about if I'm procrastinating or whatnot, I'll say to my head, like, I'm so lazy, right? I am so lazy, right? Now, what if we changed that self-talk to my mind is experiencing some feelings of laziness? Now you might be sitting there like, that's corny. I'm not doing that. And I was there too. But those 2 things are very different, right? I am lazy is very different than my mind is experiencing some feelings of laziness. Very different, subtle difference, but very different from an impact standpoint, right? What we're doing is we're starting to, and at first it's going to be forced. We're not going to believe it. You don't have to believe it at first. We're just going to kind of say it, and it's going to normalize it a little bit. We're starting to remove I from temporary feelings, right? So maybe if you find that you're unhappy a lot, right? Instead of saying, I'm so unhappy, I'm unhappy all the time, I, my mind is feeling a little down. My mind is experiencing some unhappiness, right? Like, I am not a bad girl. What I do is bad. I can see where you're going with that. Yeah. The key, like, I don't know if you like trying to quit smoking or something like that, right? You're not a bad person because you had a cigarette, right? Like, that's not a fixture of you that you're incapable of quitting something. You can do it. It might take effort, but you can do it. So this disconnecting okay, great. Yeah, exactly. Disconnecting like permanent fixtures of yourself from from momentary mental mind states, right? Unhappiness is a momentary mental mind state. Sometimes it sticks around a while, but it ebbs and flows, right? Cool. So there was some resistance when I first learned about this. Kind of cynical, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. It sounds corny. But in honesty, it has kind of helped me a lot. And so I encourage you to just give it a shot, right? We're changing the way we talk about ourselves, right? Which is impactful because wouldn't it be, imagine if we like talked about ourselves in like a really uplifting way for our whole life. Oh my God, we'd be feeling great, So we have to kind of start doing that, right? Good. So another technique that I like to use a lot for self-image, and I actually use it for a lot of things. So if you've been coming here for a while, you have heard this undoubtedly, is a technique called reframing or perspective shifts, right? So let's say we're unhappy, we're in a funk, we're not feeling good, we're feeling down about ourselves. We can start to lean into this concept that we are just a failure or an unhappy person. We're starting to kind of identify with that, right? So when we're feeling that way, something I think is really helpful to do is to take a moment and try to imagine your best friend in the whole world, whoever they are, your best friend in the whole world in the exact same situation. And I mean exact. Same, experiences, same people involved. If it's like a conflict thing, everything, the exact same, except it's your friend, not you, right? You try to just kind of imagine that, right? And then after you've committed that to memory, what would you tell them? If your friend came to you and was like, I'm such a failure, like I'm always unhappy, right? What would you say to them? I guarantee you wouldn't say, yeah, well, guess what? That is who you are at your core. It is an unchangeable quality of yourself. And so shrugs. No, you wouldn't do that, right? You would say something way more compassionate, right? You'd say, look, you're going through a tough time. It happens. You're going to get through this, or something along those lines, right? The point is, the way you talk to their self is way more reasonable than the way you talk to yourself. This is why, I don't know if you've noticed, is you give really good advice to your friends, not always giving that great advice to yourself, right? So this concept of reframing, it's a good exercise to sort of check. And what you're checking for is my reaction to this the best possible response? Is there a different way to look at this? Is there a more compassionate way to look at this? And I guarantee you, if you do this and really put effort into trying it, you will find that the advice that you would give to your friend in this instance is very good. And why not take that for yourself? Why should it be any different between you and them? Cool. That's a really fun one. And it's not only good for self-image, it's great for like anger. If you're getting angry at something, or anxiety, it's also a really good one. So this is a good tool to have, right? Cool. So far, so good? Still good? Any questions on any of that? Cool. And then the third thing, we're not going to talk about it that much because we're going to meditate on it, is the kind of concept, idea, truth that even when you are experiencing a kind of lapse of unhappiness or feelings of laziness, right? They are kind of passing clouds. Right? We don't think of them that way, but they ebb and flow, right? We're not always unhappy. Sometimes we're happy, right? We're not always lazy. Sometimes we're determined. We fixate on the times that we are in the negative, right? But there is an ebb and flow. And those negative times, they do not have the power to dictate who you are. Right? They do not have the power to destroy all the positive qualities that you have. Right? So we're gonna use some imagery here in this meditation to kind of really focus on that. But I wanted to bring it up so you know why I'm talking about this. Cool. Everything good? Everyone's giving me thumbs up. All right, I like it. All right, so we're gonna do another meditation, and we're gonna start very similarly to how we did before, right? So meditation is kind of a two-parter. Part one, we got to relax our mind. Our mind's very busy. Maybe it's agitated. When your mind's agitated, you're getting upset about things you wouldn't get upset about. You're worrying about things you wouldn't worry about. So we're going to relax our mind a little bit. That's the beauty of breathing meditation, right? And then we're going to do something called contemplation, where we use that relaxed mind state to think about something. And I'm going to guide us through this contemplation. We're going to contemplate positive self-image and some ways that we can use these tactics to look at ourselves in a more positive way. Right? Sound good? Cool. Okay. Sit comfortably once again. If you weren't happy with your previous seating arrangement, good time to change. If you were, keep it the same. And you can go ahead and close your eyes, and we're going to do another meditation. Be a little longer than last time, but not much. Okay. Very quickly, just check in once again. How are you feeling now? Don't compare it to before. Just notice how you're feeling in this exact moment. Training in mindfulness. This is an exercise in mindfulness. Training and being aware of your thoughts is incredibly important for building a positive self-image, so we can catch ourselves when we start to do negative self-talk. We can catch ourselves by monitoring what our mind is up to. So just check in. And having done that, you can once again turn your full attention to your breath, breathing in and out gently, naturally. Smooth breaths. Really try to feel the air as it enters your nose and then exits. Staying with each moment of your breath to the best of your ability. And if you notice that your mind has drifted a bit, thinking about something other than just your breath, you can just say not right now to those thoughts and guide your focus back to breathing. We're not getting discouraged. We're not judging ourselves. It doesn't matter how many times we have to bring our attention back to our breath. It's totally fine. Breathing in and out gently, naturally as you relax into your chair. Just check in on yourself again. If your attention has drifted, just guide it back. That's it. The more single-pointedly focused you are on your breath, the more you might start to notice some things about breathing that you hadn't noticed before, that you hadn't paid attention to. Maybe you're noticing how the air that you're breathing in, it feels cool temperature-wise each time you breathe in. And it's interesting how that same air feels warm each time you breathe out. Or maybe you're noticing how your whole body is a necessary participant in each breath. Your shoulders rising, falling, chest expanding, contracting. Every aspect of you breathing here, right now, in and out. Gently, naturally. Having engaged in breathing meditation for a little while, maybe you're feeling slightly more relaxed, a little more calm, even just a bit. We can then use this relaxed state to think about something with clarity, to become familiar with something we want to learn. This is called contemplation. Today we're going to do a short contemplation on a positive self-image. So you just follow along with what I'm saying. Enjoy sitting there relaxing. Whenever we notice clouds in the sky, let's say there's a storm, dark clouds, what do we say? We say the sky is stormy. But is that true? The sky is not stormy. The sky is experiencing momentary storminess. We know this if we've ever flown in a plane. Once we get above the clouds, what do we see? Beautiful, boundless blue sky, endless. Even when there are clouds, the sky is still blue. Even when there are storms, the sky is still blue. And these storms, they do not have the power to destroy the sky. The same is true for you. The same is true about yourself. When we are experiencing anxiety, unhappiness, anger, feelings of laziness, sometimes we think that's us. Sometimes we think, just like the sky is stormy, we think that we are unhappy or we are lazy. But this is not true. We are experiencing momentary feelings of unhappiness, momentary feelings of procrastination. And just as if we took a plane past the clouds, we would see the blue sky. Through meditation, through relaxing, we can see that even when we are going through a tough time, deep down at our core is a beautiful, positive, calm, reasonable, kind, wonderful person. And no mental states that you're experiencing have the power to take that away from you. That is who you are. So just take the next 30 seconds or so to think about what that would mean for you. What would it mean for your day, for your week, for your life, if you were able to really internalize this truth that even when you're experiencing negative mental emotions, you know that deep down you are still that positive, kind, wonderful, happy, loving person. What would that mean for you to really internalize that? And let that be the motivation that you need to start putting into practice some of these positive self-image techniques that we talked about. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hopefully that was enjoyable. So you can kind of see the cadence of what I would call a full meditation. So we started with breathing meditation, very powerful in and of itself, allowing us to kind of relax our mind. And then we have a choice. Do I want to end there, or do I want to use this kind of relaxed state to think about something that's important to me? And in this case, we thought about positive self-image, something that is very important to a lot of us, right? All of us, really. And the kind of takeaway here is that at our core, we are happy, kind, peaceful, right? That's who we are. Right? That's our real self, if we want to get down to it, right? And all the other kind of muck that shrouds that, momentary clouds, right? Passing through. And if we start to look at it like that, we're breaking this habit of identifying as the cloud. We want to identify as the sky, if that makes sense, right? We want to be the sky even when there's clouds. Maybe that makes sense, hopefully. Cool. Kira, that was great. Love the sky analogy. Great. Meditators love skies. There's a lot of sky analogies. Gail, thank you. Thanks for always being here. You're a fixture of this community, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you. Important to remember ourselves always. Yeah. So this is kind of at the heart of what we're talking about. It's very easy to forget how awesome we are, right? It's very easy to forget that. So we have to start to encourage ourselves to think about that more often, so it comes more familiar to us, right? Rosa, I'm glad this was helpful. Thank you all for being here. That'll do it for this week. Rob, thanks as always, my friend. If you did have a good time, you found this relaxing or thought-provoking or any and all of those, come back. I do this every week. The lake. I left that one out to Janelle. They'll catch it next time. Oh, nice. No more headache. That's great. Yeah. See, look, and the reality is you were able to do this by yourself. Yeah. Truth is you don't need me. That's not a good business proposition for me, but you don't, right? You have everything you need to do this, right? Come on back. I do this every week unless there's some sort of event I have to go to or something like that. And we always talk about a different topic. Some people were subscribing to the channel. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. It's super helpful for me. You have no idea how helpful that is. So thank you. If you're inclined to do that, I would very much appreciate it. And also it's helpful for you because you get reminded of when I'm going to kind of go live with a meditation. So when inevitably you get very caught up in your busy life, you might be like, oh, it's time to meditate with Keith. And then then you'll show up magically. And then if you really are into meditation, I encourage you to maybe consider doing some one-on-one instruction. It's something that I offer. I do it over Zoom. It's very casual. I'm a very laid back person. And the benefit of that is we can focus on something that's really particular to you. So somebody brought up anxiety. Maybe that's why you're here and that's what you want to focus on. That's something that we could do in those one-on-one classes. So if that is something that's interesting to you, you can just email me and we'll find an appropriate time, convenient time. I'll put my email in the old chat here now. Barring any spelling errors, look forward to hearing from you. I have to concentrate. There we go. I did it. All right, let me catch up. Janelle is plugging my one-on-ones. Yeah, so a lot of people that are here I work with pretty regularly, and it's fun. It's a good time. So I encourage you to think about it if that's something you're interested in. Gail, thank you so much. Very kind and always wonderful to have you here. Kira, thank you for attending. I hope you had a good experience. I'm glad to hear you're coming back. I look forward to it. Patrick, thank you. Juanisha, am I saying that correctly? Thank you so much. I know this is your first time. I hope you had a really good experience. And anyone else who had, this was your first time, I really encourage you to give it a shot. It's the type of thing that may take a little while for it to kind of start to flow, but it will start to flow. Cool? Awesome. I'm glad. This was a great class. Thank you so much for being here and dedicating time out of your busy day to be here. I love teaching and I couldn't do it without you. All right. Good luck. The positive self-image work and we'll catch up next week. All right. Take care.